Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host, Gershwan, and you are watching OneMindSyndicate. Today we continue talking about Space Marine chapters as we get into the Invaders. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40K content every single day. If you have any suggestions for Space Marine chapters that you guys would like us to cover, comment down below. And if you enjoy our content, thank our patrons on Patreon. Link in the description if you want to support. But with that said, let's get into 40 facts on the Invaders. Exemplifying the most stubborn and intractable qualities of their Primarch Rogal Dorn, the Invaders are an Imperial 5th successor chapter that is utterly unwilling to accept defeat. The details of the Invaders' founding appear not to have been recorded. No doubt the details have been lost to the long centuries of war. Ever since their founding, the Invaders have had the reputation of being a daring, if not reckless, Space Marine chapter, one that throws itself into battle without hesitation and emerges victorious in spite of overwhelming odds, and typically at great cost of lives. The Invaders are known for their green power armor and their chapter badge of a bone-white human skull superimposed over a white, 5-pointed star centered on a field of green. Before the Ultima founding, the chapter stood under strength. The cause of these terrible losses was highly restricted, making it likely that the chapter had been engaged facing the dreaded denizens of the warp, potentially alongside the secretive Grey Knights chapter. It is not uncommon for brethren surviving such campaigns to be subjected to deep core mind-wipe procedures, meaning that even if it's true, the veterans of any such campaign would have no memories of the blasphemies they might have witnessed. The few records of their early existence date back to the 38th millennium, when in the Segmentum Solar, Space Marines from the Invaders' Second Company investigated a reported Eldar sighting in Bisan. They were attacked by word-bearers who arrived by strike cruiser. In the ensuing battle, a squad of Devastator Centurions staunchly defended their battle brothers from atop the ruins of an old exedited settlement, eventually destroying many tainted tanks, forge fiends, and hell brutes. The Invaders chapter launched an all-out assault on their attackers, eventually driving the traitors from the planet. The victory was attributed to the tactical awareness of the Centurion Sergeant, Thynor. He downed a word-bearer's Thunderhawk before the reinforcement aboard could deploy, turning the battle. Modestly, he accredited the success to the precision afforded by his omniscope. But the Invaders' most notable engagement as a chapter came in the 41st millennium, when they launched an all-out invasion on the Eldar craft world of Iybraesil. The entire chapter gathered to leave the craft world a floating wreck, and many valorous deeds were performed in its domes and tunnels. The first company, under the command of Captain Ravinger, deployed en masse, teleporting into the center of the craft world and laying waste to all around them. As the Eldar reacted, and more forces were drawn from the periphery of the craft world to deal with this immense threat, the Terminator armored veterans of the First Company found themselves fighting back-to-back, storm bolters and assault cannons running hot, power fist and lightning claws reaping a fearsome tally of Eldar warriors. In the midst of battle, Captain Ravinger felt his heart pierced by the blade of a mighty Wraithlord Ghost construct. With victory in the balance, his company champion, Braden, rallied the company around the ancient and proud banner of the First Company and stood over the body of their lord. No count exists of how many foes Braden slew in the hour that followed, but all who saw his deeds attest that he fought with the valor of Rogal Dorn himself. During the fierce fighting, the mysterious Revenant Astartes, known as the Legion of the Damned, came to aid the Invaders chapter as they waged a devastating attack upon the craft world. When their flaming bolts did little harm to the raging Eldar avatar at the heart of the battle, the Legion instead blew out the great dome under which they fought. The Legion vanished once more as the Eldar defenders and the single surviving members of the Invaders' force left fighting there were blasted out into the void. The once grand craft world was left as a ruined and desolate hulk, with its surviving Eldar population forced to flee into open space, where they eventually found sanctuary aboard the craft world of Alatok. When the battle was won, and the masters of the chapter convened to decide who would succeed Ravinger as a first captain, Braden was unanimously nominated. Stepping forward under the gaze of the great and good of the Invaders, he humbly declined the honor, declaring that he was a warrior and a servant, not a leader, and that another would be better placed to command the company, another whom he would pledge to protect until death. He nominated the sergeant of the company and stepped back into the shadows, content that his duty would continue. 4 standard decades later, the Eldar enacted a bitter vengeance upon the chapter when the forces of the craft world Alatuk launched a retaliation attack upon the invaders' homeworld of Iybraesil. Still recovering their numbers from their original attack upon the craft world Eldar, the invaders were quickly defeated by the Eldar and were reduced in size to a mere 3 companies of surviving Astartes, and lost most of their battle honors and much of their chapter's war gear and vehicles to the destruction of their fortress monastery. The surviving Space Marines of the invaders were forced to become a fleet-based chapter, moving their operations to the remnants of their chapter's fleet that survived the massacre on Iybraesil. The Imperium wouldn't have any records of the invaders again until the destruction of the Great Librarium of Jollana at the hands of the thrice-reviled Chaos Sorcerer Ahriman of the Thousand Suns Traitor Legion. Determined to take the secrets of the Librarium for himself, Ahriman wiped out Jollana's defenders and ruined much of the Librarium. In the wake of Ahriman's attack, the invaders dispatched 3 companies alongside a relief army of Imperial Guardsmen to Jollana to secure the Librarium. In the wake of Ahriman's attack, the invaders dispatched 3 companies alongside a relief army of Imperial Guardsmen to Jollana to secure the Librarium. Unable to determine whether or not Ahriman's forces were still present in the catacombs, the invaders, nonetheless, acted with their chapter's famed recklessness and launched a full-scale assault, though Ahriman was long gone. As the chapter's drop pods crashed down, they unknowingly triggered a complex system of sorcerous wards that Ahriman had left in place as one last act of treachery. Scouring the fire-blanketed rubble for any trace of the foe, Arcana energies began to build up and were eventually released in a violent cascade of pink warp flame that incinerated the guardsmen to a man. The invaders fared better, protected from the sorcerous assault by their power armor, yet the dangers to assail the invaders had just begun. As the fires guttered and died, the walls of reality were torn asunder, and demons bursted through the Librarium's great halls. A contingent of Grey Knight Space Marines then arrived in orbit. The invaders had been fighting for their survival for days. Under such circumstances, the Exterminatus Order would normally have been executed, but in the case of Jollana, this was not a viable option. The data stacks of the Great Librarium contained knowledge that existed nowhere else in the galaxy, and so the Grey Knights were ordered to retake the Librarium rather than see it and its precious knowledge destroyed. The Grey Knights teleported into the bloody melee between the demons and the embattled invaders. Through their timely intervention, 15 Grey Knights rescued nearly 5 times their numbers of fellow Space Marines. Though they emerged victorious, the chaotic threat remained. The combined forces of the invaders and the Grey Knights assaulted the Great Hall, confronted another horde of demons, as well as the dire threat of a greater demon of Tzeentch, known as a Lord of Change. Of the invaders, only a dozen survived, and none would be permitted to retain any memory of their deeds. Nonetheless, a great victory had been won for the Emperor. Though the rebuilding would take many long years, Jollana and its Librarium had been saved, and the demonic threat against neighboring star systems had been put out, at least for now. The invaders have made a name for themselves for their skill in the art of subjugating an entire world to the Emperor's will. They prefer to first crush all major resistance using a powerful orbital bombardment, followed by a mass aerial attack using the chapter's fleet of Thunderhawks. The invaders next deploy scout marines and tactical squads to secure the staging areas required to unload the ground forces that will mop up the remaining pockets of resistance. This mopping up activity is then carried out by the Vanguard veterans and Terminator squads deployed from the Elite First Company. Delighted in the carnage following mass aerial and orbital attacks, the invaders have proven their prowess again and again in the rapid subjugation of planetary governments. And those were 40 facts on the Invader Space Marine chapter. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Now, we want to create more Successor chapter videos and redo old Successor chapter videos, kind of like the Carcharodons, the Black Dragons, all those cool Successor chapters. We want to recreate videos for them and put them in a new playlist that should already be up because we want to help anybody who's trying to start a Space Marine army. If you're trying to start a Space Marine army and you're trying to build lore for your Space Marine chapter, it's really fun and it's really helpful to listen to these videos and get ideas from these small little chapters that have special attributes to them. These guys are supposed to be relentless, they're supposed to fight to the bitter end, so it's like a combination of the Salamanders and the Imperial Fists. and that type of stuff really helps people who are trying to get into the hobby, especially when you're trying to figure out what significance your Space Marine chapter will have to the wider Warhammer 40k lore. So if you have a friend who wants to start Space Marines or wants to start Warhammer 40k in general, show them that playlist that we have linked above, or we're going to have it in the description, or you could just go to the YouTube channel, and it's going to give you guys all the latest Successor chapter videos, starting with this one, going back. And again, we're going to just be creating a bunch of Successor chapter videos in the days to come. So if you guys have any suggestions for any Successor chapter that you guys would like us to cover, comment down below. Now, this is Successor chapters, so it's not first founding chapters. The first founding chapters, we're going to end up redoing the original or the origin videos very soon, but they're going to have a playlist all to themselves. These are just Successor chapters, and the playlist is designed specifically for newcomers into 40k, just to listen to a bunch of different snippets of lore from each individual Successor chapter, and then, you know, you can create your own. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment down below. Don't forget, we have a giveaway going on, so if you want to start an Imperial Guard army, we have an Imperial Guard starter set going up for a prize. Check out our 40 facts on the Death Corps of Krieg. Thanks for everything, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. This is Gershwin with OneMindSyndicate signing out.